The late afternoon sun bathed the quiet roadside diner in golden light. Families laughed softly, unaware of the approaching storm. A low rumble grew in the distance, shaking the air and rattling windows. Conversations stopped. Eyes turned toward the parking lot. And then, a small voice broke the tension. "Hello, sir." The diner, called Sunset Roadside, sat just off Highway 40, a modest building with checkered floors and booths lining the windows. The smell of sizzling burgers mingled with fresh fries and sweet pies cooling on the counter. Parents helped their children with ketchup-stained hands, the gentle clink of silverware creating a soft rhythm. It was one of those afternoons where time seemed to slow. The sun glimmered against the chrome of passing cars. Waitresses moved efficiently, calling out orders with practiced smiles. Patrons nodded to one another, immersed in their own stories. A father reading a newspaper, a young couple sharing a milkshake, a grandmother feeding her grandson small bites. Outside, a single motorcycle passed, but inside, no one noticed. Life moved in comfortable predictability. No one expected that ordinary moments could unravel in an instant, that normalcy could be interrupted by sheer presence alone. The stage was set, the calm before the storm, every detail ordinary, safe, and serene. And yet, just beyond the diner's windows, something impossible was approaching, carrying a sound that would silence laughter and freeze every heartbeat. The rumble started faint, like distant thunder rolling across the desert. A vibration in the ground, subtle at first, then growing louder, more commanding with every second. Glasses trembled on tables. Conversations stuttered mid-word. And then, 8 motorcycles appeared on the horizon, their engines roaring in unison, chrome gleaming under the fading sunlight. Families froze. Adults instinctively shielded their children. The motorcycles moved with mechanical precision, a synchronized force that demanded attention. The bikers dismounted, their black leather vests adorned with patches and insignias, proof of their allegiance, their history, their identity. Boots thudded on the pavement, tattoos stretched across weathered arms, faces lined by years on the road. At the center, the leader emerged, a tall, broad-shouldered man in his late 50s, streaks of silver cutting through black hair. His eyes scanned the diner with the confidence of someone who had been seen, feared, and respected countless times before. He was Connor Ghost Riley, president of the Desert Riders chapter. The other bikers followed his lead silently, settling into booths near the back. Their presence commanded attention without a word. Patrons dared not look directly at them, yet could not turn away. The diner, once warm and filled with laughter, now felt heavy, tense, as though the walls themselves were holding their breath. And amid the fear, one small figure noticed something no one else did. Tyler Chun, a 7-year-old boy, sat in a corner booth with his grandmother, quietly observing the sudden disruption. Unlike everyone else, he was not afraid. His eyes sparkled with curiosity, reflecting the chrome of the motorcycles parked outside. Where others saw threat, he saw intrigue. His grandmother, Mrs. Chen, gripped the edge of the table, tension creeping into her shoulders. She whispered warnings he could barely hear. But Tyler, fearless in his innocence, leaned forward on his seat, craning his neck to get a better view. He noticed every detail, the intricate tattoos, the polished leather, the way the leader's eyes cut through the room. He had always been fascinated by tattoos. He knew every design had a story, a meaning beyond the surface. And then, his gaze fixed on one tattoo that sent a shiver of recognition through him. A flaming phoenix rising from chains. He had seen that before on his mother. Without hesitation, Tyler slid from the booth, his small frame moving with determination. His grandmother gasped, reaching for him. But he was already walking toward the leader, undeterred by the intimidating presence before him. Every eye in the diner followed him, the silence so thick it pressed against their ears. And then Tyler spoke. "Hello, sir," he said clearly, his voice carrying across the silent diner. "My mother has a tattoo just like yours." The words hung in the air, heavier than the roar of engines outside. Patrons froze. Forks hovered mid-air. Conversations had vanished entirely. Mrs. Chen's hand flew to her mouth, panic flooding her eyes. She stepped forward, unsure what to do. Ghost turned his gaze slowly toward the boy. For a moment, time itself seemed to pause. His piercing eyes softened as he studied the small figure before him, completely unafraid. The other bikers went still, their attention riveted on the unfolding moment. Every detail mattered. The boy's bright eyes, the unwavering voice, the innocence in his stance. It was impossible not to feel the gravity of the encounter. Ghost's jaw tightened slightly, almost imperceptibly, but there was no anger. Instead, a flicker of something long buried, a memory, a recognition, crossed his face. The diner remained in suspended animation, the air thick with anticipation. Everyone waited, collectively holding their breath. Then Ghost spoke, his voice low and controlled, yet carrying the weight of decades of experience. And your mother's name is? He asked, eyes never leaving the boy. Tyler's eyes lit up. Her name is Lisa, he said proudly. Lisa Chen. She showed me her tattoo once. She said it was from a long time ago before I was born. She said it was special. Ghost's eyes narrowed as he studied Tyler's small frame. Slowly, he lifted the sleeve of his vest, revealing the flaming phoenix etched across his forearm. The design mirrored Lisa's, identical in every intricate detail. Flames curling around chains, feathers layered with precision, shadows giving life to the ink. A wave of recognition washed over him. Ghost's hands trembled ever so slightly as he touched the tattoo. Memories long buried surfaced, late-night rides, laughter echoing through desert roads, a young woman with fire in her heart, a life once shared with those who called themselves family. The other bikers leaned in, exchanging silent glances. The air was electric, charged with a tension that was no longer fear but recognition, the understanding that history had somehow arrived in the form of a small child. Mrs. Chen's face paled. She whispered, almost to herself, "Tyler, come back, now." But Ghost raised a hand, a subtle gesture that stopped her immediately. His attention remained on the boy, his voice softer now. "Tell me about this tattoo, son. How do you know about it?" Tyler climbed onto the booth next to Ghost, swinging his legs like he had done countless times at home, completely fearless. "Mom said it was from her wild days," he said. "Before she became a mom, she rode motorcycles with friends who were like family." Ghost's expression softened, the weight of decades pressing on him, memories awakening, and a story that had lain dormant began to stir. Ghost's eyes locked on Tyler. "Lisa Martinez, before she married," he murmured. A memory, sharp and undeniable, pierced the tough exterior. The diner held its breath. Patrons leaned forward in their seats, sensing the gravity of the moment. Mrs. Chun stood frozen, her mouth slightly open, disbelief mingling with fear. "That's impossible," she whispered. "She left that life behind years ago. We tried to erase it, forget it." Ghost nodded slowly. "I know," he said, his voice measured. "And she made her choice. But I remember her. We rode together. She was one of the best of us." The boy beamed. "Are you one of her friends?" Ghost looked down at Tyler, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Perhaps long ago. We were family once." "Tell me, does she ever talk about those days?" Tyler shook his head. "Not much. Grandma says she had a different life before settling down. Mom says those years made her who she is. She says we all need family, even on the road." Ghost's gaze softened further. "And where is she now?" "She works at the hospital. She's a nurse," Tyler replied simply. "Grandma takes care of me after school." The diner, which had been tense moments ago, now felt almost sacred, a silent witness to a reunion of past and present, where innocence bridged decades of memory and unspoken emotion. Ghost gestured to the empty seat beside him. "Sit, Tyler. Tell me more about this tattoo." Mrs. Chun stepped forward, alarm etched on her face. "This isn't appropriate," she said, voice trembling. But Ghost's look stopped her. Not threatening, just careful, honest, almost vulnerable. Tyler climbed into the booth beside Ghost, legs dangling. "Mom doesn't show it often," he said. "She keeps it covered for work. But I saw it once and I asked her about it. She said it was from when she was young, wild, riding with friends who became family. She said they called themselves brothers and sisters of the road." Ghost's eyes glistened, memories flooding back. The long rides, laughter echoing in the desert, friendships forged in leather and speed. Faces of old friends appeared in his mind, faces he had thought lost to time. Tyler's question was simple, innocent. "Are you one of those brothers?" Ghost's chest tightened, his voice softened, carrying the weight of decades. "Maybe I was a long time ago." He paused, studying the boy, seeing not just curiosity but the spirit of the woman he once knew in miniature. Mrs. Chen's anger softened slightly, replaced by apprehension. The diner, silent but attentive, felt like a bridge between past and present, innocence and experience, fear and understanding. Ghost reached into his vest and pulled out a phone. "Tyler, may I call your mom?" he asked gently. "Only if it's okay." Mrs. Chen's protective instinct surged. "No, it's not appropriate," she said, voice shaking. But Ghost smiled, a quiet, genuine smile that held no threat. "I understand your concern. Promise no harm. If Lisa is who I think she is, we were family once. She helped us, saved lives. She did things that mattered." Tyler's eyes widened. "Really?" Ghost nodded. "She pulled someone from a burning bike, talked a man out of ending his life, donated bone marrow to a child. She was remarkable, Mrs. Chun. You should be proud." The grandmother's face softened, shock replacing anger. Patrons watched, captivated. Fear turned to respect, tension into awe. Ghost slid a business card across the table. "This is my number. If she wishes, I'd like to speak with her." "Tyler, you are brave." "Thank you." Tyler grinned. "Will you tell me stories about when Mom rode motorcycles?" Ghost's smile grew. "If she says it's okay, I will." The bikers finished their meal quietly, leaving behind the tension, but not the memory. Ghost left a $100 bill, more than enough, and paused by Mrs. Chun. Tell Lisa the phoenix rises from the ashes, he said softly. When Lisa Chun returned from her hospital shift that evening, her mother handed her the card. A man named Ghost visited today, Mrs. Chun whispered. Tyler spoke to him, mentioned your tattoo. Lisa froze, hand moving instinctively to her shoulder, where the flaming phoenix was hidden beneath her scrubs. Ghost. Connor. Memories of her past life resurfaced. Pain, love, freedom, family. Tears filled her eyes. He wants me to call, Mrs. Chun said softly. He said, the phoenix rises from the ashes. Lisa sank into a chair, trembling. I couldn't tell you before, she admitted. I needed you to understand someday. Those years, dangerous as they were, gave me strength, family, and a purpose I never forgot. Tyler peeked around the corner. Will you tell me stories, Mom? She smiled through her tears. One day, sweetheart, one day I will. The phoenix, once hidden in ink and memory, rose again through courage, understanding, and the innocence of a child who saw beyond appearances.